大家好，这里是盖世汽车，欢迎收看本期的 C Talk。今天我们会有3位对话嘉宾，分别是莱科德汽车事业部总裁 Luxoft 先生、汽车工程副总裁 Michael Dinker 博士，以及莱科德汽车事业部副总裁、中国区总经理陈玉虎先生。我们会共同讨论汽车软件的发展趋势、莱科德汽车解决方案以及中国市场的新动向等话题。莱科德是一家全球性的软件工程公司，在汽车领域，莱科德拥有自动驾驶、智能网联、数字座舱、用户体验、测试与验证、芯片技术等领域的专业知识和能力。目前形成了5大核心的解决方案，具体包括电子电器架构、数据平台、软件平台、PMT 建设以及软件工厂，致力于推动移动出行革命，赋能汽车产业变革。Very glad to have 3 of you to attend our talk today. So, Luz, can you give us a very brief introduction about the Luxoft? What kind of company it is?
Looking forward to it. And first of all, thanks, Tina, for having us. Yeah, Luxoft is maybe a kind of an interesting company, right? We are creeping also out to the China market, but let me give you really a span of Luxoft. We are roughly a 18,000 company, mainly growing out of the European market, also expanding in several areas, right? We are basically in 3 divisions divided. One is banking and capital markets, the other one is automotive, and then we have a kind of what we are calling cross-industry solutions layer. You can basically say from the money we are making, every of this division has contributing a third, so we are good balance. But certainly all these divisions have a specialty. We are focusing really on the industry, right? So automotive is, we are focusing on these industries, and this is what we are doing now since around 18 years.
What kind of role or position Luxoft played in the automotive industry?
Well, I would say our journey is quite simple, right? We're growing out of a tier 3, tier 2 structure, right? And I think if I would describe our journey into the new world, so to speak, in the software-defined vehicle world, I would say we're becoming a kind of a software tier 1 for the automotive industry.
As you just mentioned, software-defined vehicles is a very hot field in recent years. What kind of impact it brings to Luxoft?
Well, I think it brings a good momentum to Luxoft in both ways, right? I mean, first of all, we see a trend in the market that is clearly dominated by, let's say, from the OEM logic. So we see the classical value chain, if you want to call that, from a OEM tier 1, tier 2 structure is a little bit breaking up, right? The OEMs are pushing for hardware-software separation because software becomes a super relevant topic for them for the product at the final end. It's not only about horsepower any longer and engineering capabilities, it's about how you really make software, I would say, a key differentiator for your product. And by doing so, I think it's super relevant for the OEM side to really manage the software in itself. Having said that one at the same time, that's why I would say software competencies on both sides, on the tier side as well as on the OEMs, that becomes more and more relevant. And we feel that we have a right to play in that play because we are a software-driven company.
Yeah, and we see that the automotive industry actually is developed very, very fast.
Yeah.
So as a tier 1 is, you also need to adjust your speed of the development.
Oh, of course. I mean, we are seeing, a couple of patterns basically breaking, right? You come maybe from a traditional world, from this kind of waterfall principle engineering type of style, that you are more shifting now to a more agile CI/CD model component type of development style. And I think this transformation in itself already brings a lot of change and transformational aspects to all our clients. And I mean, we are more than happy and willing to help them, right? Because that is where we are feeling strong in providing this type of services and methodologies to them. But of course, I mean, the value chain at the moment, and based also from a lot of the discussion I had this week in the Chinese market, we see that the transformation is in full swing, and no one has clearly defined to which extent he will go in certain levels deep, or what he wants to keep and what he wants to maybe make or buy, right? So that is quite an interesting dynamic. So that's why you cannot say this is the pattern that fits all. You have to be flexible.
So how about the core business right now? I mean, the different segments for the Luxoft?
I mean, for us, I mean, we grew very strongly out of the digital cockpit, out of the IVI, right? We have expanded our portfolio widely into the ADAS segment as well as in the connected mobility side. We also have now in the electrification, as we are calling it, in the body and motion a play. So we are changed basically our way of working from giving only resources to our clients. We are more and more now being a portfolio-driven organization. That means we are taking over 80% of our work that we are doing for our clients is fixed price and work package related. That means we are taking more and more responsibility for our clients and relieving or helping them in some of the software areas.
Yeah, actually, when we see the global market, the automotive industry actually didn't grow as fast as it used to be. But the products, I mean the vehicle itself, is changing fast. So from your point of view, what's your expectation for the Luxoft growth in the future, let's say 3 or 5 years?
I mean, first of all, we had a good momentum in terms of growth over the last years, right? So when I joined Luxoft, we were roughly around the 2,500 people company. Now we have expanded in my organization more than over a 4,000 people organization. We have already started, and thanks also to Tiger and the entire team, right? We have already started not only saying, okay, Europe is the market in itself. I mean, you cannot miss markets, right? And China is a super important market. We all know that. So we have already started 2 years ago really focusing explicitly on China. So you will not see in our organization that we are covering China in an APAC region logic. We are focusing dedicated for China. So I would say we are following maybe the logic that a couple of OEMs are saying in China for China, right? But also we are seeing a trend that China, I would say technology or experiences that you can gather here is also relevant for the world then going backwards, right? So it's not only in China for China, we're seeing also some areas like IVI as an example that are heavily driven out of the Chinese market. And that's why we are super eager to be here. So I think there will be, back to your question, a lot of changes on the OEM side. Partnerships are becoming even more relevant than I think it was before. So a new ecosystem is also evolving. I mean, looking at your exhibition here on your event, I mean, already shows, right, how eager the companies are in the different domains to creep up.
Yeah, since you mentioned China, so I will ask for Tiger. As a head of the China business, I think it's not an easy job, right?
I mean, let me put it that way, right? So we are very well established globally, but in China, I would think we are, startup entrepreneur kind of,
entrepreneurs,
startup companies, right? But quite honestly, I mean, the business itself, it actually grows significantly, right? I mean, in the last few years, we actually grow from like dozens of people. Now the whole Luxoft China, we have like 150 people. And revenue-wise, in terms of percentage, we double literally every year. So it's a really very interesting results that we've seen at from the market side.
So can you introduce the China strategy and the business layout right now?
Sure. As Lutz mentioned, like China is really a focus strategy from Luxoft automotive side. So I mean, I've been in this industry for quite a long enough, and I've seen a couple stages of the transformation of the business, automotive business in China, right? The first wave is looking at manufacturing side. So that's where everybody is trying to build manufacturing facilities or capabilities. And now we are actually, the Chinese OEMs are at a stage of very stable quality, cost balance, right? And the second stage is everybody's trying to develop its own research and development capability, and we are getting there as well. And now I think we are in the stage that facing the new, we call 新四化, right?
New trend.
Correct. So it's all about connectivity, it's about intelligence, about autonomous electrifications. So what we are really focusing on in China, right? We're trying to be really ready to enable our customer to be from the SDV perspective. So we're covering pretty much consulting space, helping customers developing strategies, rolling out roadmap. Especially on the from the organization governance methodology perspective, right? We are providing that kind of services to help them structure right. We're also doing from the very fundamental, if you're talking about software, hardware separations, right? So we are actually starting very at the fundamental architect that we're helping our clients at the vehicle level or the component level to be ready for SDV. We're also doing a lot of software platform, what we call in-vehicle platform offerings in the country, that helping them to develop middleware, literally, from the base tech to applications. We provide that kind of a platform architect and development capabilities. In addition to that, right, echo back to the globalization we mentioned earlier, we're also providing overseas services to our customer, to our Chinese customer going global, that we're helping them do a lot of validation, testing, and localization as well.
Yeah. Can you say in Chinese? So I guess some of our fellows can better understand.
Sure. 不好意思，那 time to switch.
I will understand.
So, 所以对我们来讲的话呢，其实刚才卢先生也说了，就是我们整个中国的战略其实是在我们公司层级的一个战略，所以我们是欧洲、北美和中国是3地同步发展。那当然，欧洲作为我们大本营是我们主战场，但是在过去的两三年来讲的话，其实中国市场的话，我们也是有一个非常显著的一个增长。那对我们来讲，其实我们目前在中国可能覆盖的这个领域的话，包括从咨询，那包括从针对这个软件定义汽车的一个战略的一个转型，从战略目标到实施路径以及需要的组织架构，这些的话呢，其实是我们可以赋能给到我们国内的这些企业。那另外一块呢，其实呢，你讲整个解决方案的角度来讲的话，我们是从最底层的架构开始，从整车级或者是零部件级，我们可以提供一个比较完整的SDV ready 的一个架构，能帮助我们的车企从上再 build up 所有的这个相关的这个软件平台，从底层底软一直到中间件，一直到我们的应用程序。那这块呢，也是我们现在比较在发展、在着力的一点。那还有一些领域的话，比如说我们在做一些测试，那特别是像国内的一些企业，如果出海到全球，那到欧洲也好，到北美也好，那我们其实帮他们做整个本地化的一些从测试到本地化的集成，以及引入我们的这个生态圈，给提供一个完整的一个解决方案，来赋能我们的国内的车企出海。除此之外，其实除了工程这一块，那我们其实更多还有一块业务呢，是跟设计、跟艺术相关的。对，因为
With art
因为除了我们提供比较先进的技术是在看不见的整个整车的架构和科技感以外的话，其实我们更能提供一些从设计、从用户体验，特别像现在比较讲的是用户场景的一个体验的一个延伸，我们提供从用户体验的设计以及到整个 UI 的落地。那这块的话，其实在中国我们这块业务也是发展的非常的一个蓬勃。为什么我们会提到这一点呢？因为工程只是工程，大家看不到，但你怎么样用用户更好的体验？那这一块呢，也是我们想把设计和工程能够完美结合的一个在国内一个落地。
OK， 好，谢谢。我第二个问题我还是用英文提问。
没问题。那我中文回答就可以了，对吧
Yeah, okay. So we see that China is a large market, obviously, but it's also become a center of the digitalization, electrification, and innovative kinds of, fields. A lot of OEM will embrace the new technology combined with a different scenario and to launch new products to satisfy the end demands. As a European company, even you enter China as an entrepreneur, but what kind of challenges or opportunities you see in this field?
Okay. I'll switch to Chinese. 所以您说的非常对，中国其实市场某种意义来讲，大家还是很卷的，对吧？尤其刚才我们也在展会看到很多的一些本地的一些企业，从硬件、从软件、从服务上其实也有很多很竞争力的一个产品，对我们来讲也是一样。但是对 Luxoft 中国来讲，其实我觉得我们有可能几点优势在这边跟大家可能不一样。第一，就是我们其实是深耕汽车行业的。那汽车行业这块的话呢，其实对国内企业可能更大家熟悉的一些瀑布式的一些开发的流程和体系，大家都是比较完整的。但是你怎么样把软件的开发，特别是其实软件企业很成熟的，你像敏捷、像 DevOps 这一块，能够引入到你的整车产品当中开发，其实是蛮大的挑战的。我们国内包括特斯拉的话，其实有些企业做的蛮不错的，但是对很多本土企业或者是主机厂的话，他们在这一部分如何把传统的开发和软件定义汽车和软件能力的培养能够完美结合，其实这一块是我们在 Luxoft 在中国或者在全球其实是有独特的一些见解，能够帮助我们客户更好的一个做转型，这是第一点。第二点的话呢，其实我们是有一个这一会儿可能我们Michael 会提到的，就是说我们Luxoft 并不是说我只是做 concept， 我们更多的是从怎么样从 concept 帮助客户做落地，所以我们有完整的体系和流程，以及有经验的团队和自己的一个能力，能够帮助客户从最早的很多很酷的 concept 一直落地到最后到量产车，这个也是我相信是我们非常在 global 非常强的一块。那还有一块呢，其实是我们的一个我们叫 global footprint。我们其实在整个全球的话，有80几个国家，我们是有set up。所以的话呢，其实我们可以调动我们全球的资源来赋能我们客户，全球的一个客户。最后一点，其实我觉得我们作为一个中国的企业，我们其实是我个人是比较自豪，是我们是一个比较以人为本的一个企业文化。那这里面包括2点，一个的话，我们是非常关注客户的体验，客户是 first， 同时我们也给员工提供一个很尊重的一个环境，然后让他们能够发挥他们的创造力和主观的这个能动性，能够帮我们一起大家作为一个共同的一个win-win 的一个 situation。从我们来讲的话，我们其实整个的在进入中国市场以来，我们其实的这个员工流失率，我相信我们也是远远高于我们的软件行业的一个平均，低于这个人才的这个就是人员的流动率是远远低于我们行业的这个平均水平的，所以这点我也是比较自豪的。
Just as you mentioned that the China OEM now show great enthusiasm to the overseas market, and this year from the number we can see, we record higher, and now becomes the #1 globally. Yeah, so for Luxoft, you can also empower these companies during the process overseas.
Right, correct. 所以像我刚才有提到，就是我们其实全球的话，都绝大多数的市场我们是有 presence 在那边。那么我们对本土的这个文化的了解、法律法规的要求的理解，这个我相信我们是跟很多的其他的一个厂商的一个不同。那么我们在中国其实已经在跟很多的一些客户在合作，包括我们现在要出海的或者已经出海的很多企业，在路上跑的车，从测试到验证到后面的本地化，其实我们已经提供了很完整的一个服务在这里。
Okay, thank you. Now it's for Dimi.
MIDI.
Oh, sorry, MIDI. Actually, I mentioned that I watched your one lecture in the webinar 5 years ago. So luckily to see you, regularly see you in person.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I was wondering that when you talked about the SDV 5 years ago, now we see it's developed very fast. So from your point of view, when we enter the new era of the smart EV, the traditional EE architecture actually have some, cannot meet the demands of the new cars. From your point of view, what kind of change is going to happen, and what's the solution Luxoft can bring out for the industry?
So you're mentioning a very core point of what makes SDVs possible. But it's important to understand that the electronics architecture has been traditionally, I would say, the information backbone of the vehicle itself, but in isolation. Now, when we look at what makes the difference is not only that we have more software in the vehicle, but it is how the user is able to interact with the car and how the car is embedded into the ecosystem, into how it's connected with the continuous development, continuous deployment and upgrades of software functionalities by the development teams, but also how it is connected within vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to user devices, and so on. So all of this needs to be taken into account, right, from a user perspective, from a what are the key use cases, key user journey aspects that we want to support, and then combined with the technical principles that have been discussed at length, right? Zonal architectures, for instance, service-oriented architectures with safety, functional safety, as well as cybersecurity aspects. All of this needs to be taken into account and brought together. And that is, I would say, one of the core strengths of Luxoft that we have, that we take the end-to-end view, right? Not just looking at a single ECU, how it can be done, how AutoSAR is applied, how adaptive AutoSAR real-time play into that, but the broader view, right? What are the key enablers for the future? Because what is also important, and it's funny to see that repeated in the market now after a couple of years, a connected product is never finished, right? Never. As long as we have the product in the market, we need to be able to provide security patches, upgrades, extensions, and so on. A connected product, and I repeat that because it's important, right, is never finished. That has consequences in what the ecosystem, the environment, the OEMs need to take care of, right? Well, previously a mechanical product was produced and it's done, and then we focus on the next product. For a connected product, we cannot just stop doing it. So this continuous cycle of updating the software, rolling it out over the air or in different ways, right, is a continuous process that has to be supported, driven until the end of the life of each of the products, right? So also things like decommissioning a vehicle that is no longer supposed to be used is a use case that we need to take care of. And all that then has requirements that end up defining the right EE architecture, right? And as I said, we have a very strong team in this area that has recently, well, succeeded driving a vehicle into the with a new EE architecture into the Chinese market.
Can you show us some best practice?
Well, I would love to go into more detail. However, I think now it's a little bit difficult to do that here, but
probably some iconic projects you have already delivered successfully in the past.
And that's a very good point. Luxoft is set up as a project organization. As Lutz previously said, we are structured around our offerings portfolio, our domains, right? And let me pick a couple of examples from multiple domains, right? We have a history of working with Tier 1 suppliers, for instance, right? There's a public reference out also for a joint project with Continental, where we take care of the Continental Automotive Edge system, right? How the vehicle connects into the cloud with the data collection and the remote diagnostics, and from there we are taking a number of initiatives, then also driving the capabilities forward. Like for instance, the topic of remote repair, right? Which is an interesting concept if you think about it. Again, coming back to mechanical product, right? is finished and it is as it is. When it breaks, you need to, I don't know, go to it and do something. With a connected product, right? If something on the information, data, software side breaks, and we have the right EE architecture, right update mechanisms in place, we can safely repair a system remotely by providing new updates. And of course, this whole data-driven development cycle is something that we have established, where we are supporting a number of OEMs. Can't disclose names here, unfortunately, but it's really a huge effort to gather all the data. And it's not only about ADAS, right? It is about everything in a vehicle. All the pieces of the software of each of the ECUs needs to be updatable. Not only a single algorithm or a part, or and this is one of the challenges that we are addressing in this particular domain. When we look to other domains, we can also talk about our capabilities in the IVI area, where we have also a public reference with Mercedes-Benz, right? It's a Luxoft team that is behind the IVI Hyperscreen implementation that you will find in the new EQS, EQE cars. And we've been doing that since, well, 8 years. So on the other hand, it's always a good case when we can talk about some names, right? Because about most of the names we cannot talk. We're kind of a hidden secret that it's Luxoft teams who enable this, right? We're currently working with also some Chinese tier 1 suppliers who are basically pretty successful on the European markets. Well, what we do is we're helping them to make the SOP happen. Right? Because just having a good idea, being innovative, this is not the same as being a high quality product in the market at SOP ready stage in the right point in time.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. As we also talk a lot about the corner case, you know, in SDV era, actually there are always corner case, and it costs a lot of efforts to solve the problem. So how to ensure the how to ensure the security in various situations from your point of view?
Yeah, and security is an interesting aspect, right? On the one hand, there's legal requirements for cybersecurity, and then there's of course the safety aspects, right? And those two aspects are closely connected. However, they are by far not the same, right? And first of all, there are constructive measures, and there's standards out there how to implement a cyber-secure system. It starts in the very beginning with a threat analysis. It then goes into deriving security requirements that flow into the process, into the development process of the systems themselves. On top of that, of course, there needs to be efforts taken to ensure specific, as you mentioned, corner cases, where the systems are tested, evaluated, stressed with the goal to break them, right? Which is an aspect that needs to be taken into account on top. In addition to that, companies who want to play in our league need to establish also a continuous cybersecurity management system, right? A cybersecurity response team that is taking into regard all of the cybersecurity flaws, of the exploits that are out there, and ensure that the knowledge about these exploits, the understanding if that is a real threat for every project and individual software out in the field, right, is well managed in a way that it also can be certified, right? That's been an effort that Luxoft has been going through over the last years. Having this certified cybersecurity team, infrastructure, and processes in place gives us a chance to make, again, be the enabler, accelerator to the OEMs who are driving new features into the market.
Okay, thank you, Midi. Thank you. You okay? You added something?
Yeah. I mean, just pitching on something, right? So I mean, right now, like OEM.OS is a really hot topic, right? I mean, globally. So we are actually maybe, I mean, I know we're not reviewing name here, but it's also something I want to just highlight that we actually get involved multiple OEM.OS development project for major OEMs, right? So which is also, you know, there's a good side of that. There's also lessons learned, right? So, and that's kind of experiences that we will actually would like to bring over to China that to, you know, help us, our customers, to grow further in terms of developing the future platform solutions.
Yeah, sure.
That's a very, very good point. You've probably seen in the press and out in the industry that a number of OEMs are building their own software stack. Typically, it's called mybrand.os or something similar, right? And as a fun fact, Luxoft has been involved in those development initiatives and design initiatives, not for one, but for 5, 6 different OEMs. So the point here is that with this know-how and the experience, right? If you do things the second and third time, well, you avoid the mistakes that others do the first time. So this is a competence that we, of course, are leveraging for new clients and OEMs who want to go in the same path. Also, along with this way, there's, I would say, a very solid understanding of which parts are really differentiating, which parts are not, which parts are more a topic for standardization, right? So that we can help also the OEMs to focus their development efforts on the areas that will make a difference in the market. Right.
Yeah, okay, got that. So last question probably to Lutz. As a global company, you have to deal with different OEMs in different development pace. Not all of them are the same speed. So how to deal with this kind of situation? Especially your team is located in different areas physically, I mean. So.
I mean, look, I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier when we were running around the fair. I mean, speed becoming a currency, right? Is not that the one is like to be slower than the other. So because you have to hit the market at a certain moment in time, because you need to satisfy demand or expectations from the end client, right? So that's why I don't say that we are dealing with a different type of speed in different markets, because the eagerness to achieve, let's say, software competencies and, let's say, getting the respective products out is, I would say, no matter to which OEM I'm talking, I would say similar or the same. However, I mean, what we are seeing in satisfying our clients, you also have to supply, so to speak, the software competency close to the market or close to the demands of your clients, right? So that's why we want to scale even further in Chinese market. But I think what our beauty is also that Luxoft, we have an own recruiting engine, right? The recruiting engine is not only limited on certain markets. We are scouting basically the global market, right? And we are also seeing, especially in the software domains, to bring software competencies from other markets to other markets, because sometimes even for the software developers it's a kind of an educational thing or an advantage or an improvement of their CV, so to speak, by going into certain markets, right? So that's a kind of an attractiveness that we can also provide by being attractive with cool projects at the final end, right? And what I always say when talking Luxoft, I think we have maybe the beauty being small enough to listen but big enough to execute on the other hand side. That means we are bringing both worlds together. I mean, even if we are 150 people in China, we are not limited to the 150. We always have the global team that can support the know-how and the expertise to the 150 in the market and maybe even coming here. So that I think is, when looking to what I see, is really getting the talent right and at scale with the really understanding of automotive is becoming a key differentiator. And this is where we are passionate for.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I wish Luxoft achieve great success in China and global. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
谢谢。
Bye.
Thank you.
Was a pleasure.